Hello, my name is John Rose, and 26 years ago I found the most valuable knowledge in the world. And I've known for a long time that there are two groups of people who fear this knowledge. There's a very small group of people who take advantage of this situation, and they suppress this knowledge so they can own and control everything that we do in our society. And then there's another group of people who are just like little children that don't want anyone to take away their candy, not realizing that candy is the root to all of our problems. And this has been referred to by every culture on this planet as the fall of mankind. In other words, the fall of mankind happened a long time ago when we started eating candy. And the problem with the fall of mankind is we're still eating the candy. And the biggest problem of all is that we are addicted to this candy, and now we're in a major state of denial. Such a huge state of denial that every culture that talks about the fall of mankind somehow fails to mention the candy. So there's actually a very simple solution to solve most of the problems that we face as a species. And it has to do with finding and applying the knowledge that I'm talking about so that we could stop eating this candy. But remember, there's a small group of people who are taking advantage of this situation, and they own and control every major sector of human endeavor to make sure that they can suppress this knowledge that tells us to stop eating this candy. So what is the solution? Well, I've perfected a three-step process to help us wake up from this nightmare. And the first step only addresses this issue on a temporary basis so we can see what we're missing. And you see, that's the biggest problem. Most of us are not in a position to evaluate what we're doing and what we need to do, which is we're eating candy and we got to stop eating candy. And if you're not in a position to evaluate this, then you're not going to think it's a fair trade to quit eating the candy. Most of us think it's okay to eat the candy, no different than a heroin addict wants to do their heroin. Try to convince a heroin addict their life would be better if they didn't do the heroin. They're convinced that no, my life is much better because of the heroin. It solves the dilemma I'm in. And perhaps instead of calling it candy, it's more like crack cocaine, because crack destroys part of our brain that allows us to make good decisions. Well, the candy we're eating destroys a nutrient that feeds one of our senses. And now we're senseless. That's why it's so hard for the vast majority of us to figure out what's going on. And that's because we lost one of our senses. We're supposed to have 6 senses, but most of us think we only have 5 senses. And that is a huge problem right now, because when you only have 5 senses, we end up with the wrong mentality. We end up competing for resources on an abundant planet when we should cooperate and share the abundance this planet has to offer. And we also end up preying systematically upon our own species. Obviously, there's something seriously wrong with our species, but for some reason we can't figure out what it is. Well, the problem is the candy, and the reason why we can't figure it out is because we are addicted and in denial. Now, I'll explain how all of these problems of knowledge tie into the reason why we can't figure this out. And you can look down below in the description box and you'll see several playlists. One is the Ultimate Solution playlist, where I identify all 281 pieces to the puzzle, and that is explained in also the Ultimate Schematic playlist. But what we want to do initially is go ahead and start with the first of my 3-step process. And perhaps you might even want to start by looking at an interview with Dr. Roba. If you go to my YouTube channel, or I'll make sure and put this link down below, listen to the interview with Dr. Roba, who is on day 21 of the first of my 3-step process. Listen to this man's enthusiasm to help you understand that this is not a sacrifice. Life is an illusion. Most of us have no idea what we're missing. So watch the Dr. Roba interview, and then do the first of my 3-step process, And when you do the first of my 3-step process, I can guarantee you, my friends, you are in for a treat.